Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Chairman Powell, thank you for being here and for your service. I know the Fed is experiencing lots of challenges these days. I've got a couple questions that are just, I think, basic yes or no's, and then some longer questions. Would you agree that changes in the size of corporate profits can be one of the factors that affects the inflation rate?
Yes.
Right. Now, recently, we saw that the Employment Cost Index, which, as you know, measures the growth of wages and benefit costs, grew at roughly 4% on an annualized basis in the fourth quarter of 2022. Is that right?
That's my recollection, yes.
So if corporate profits were to decline from the extremely high levels that we saw recently, would it be possible to sustain the 4% growth rate in the Employment Cost Index for an extended period of time, even as we get inflation down to the target of 2%?
Depends on what you mean by extended period of time. So you would not, without a very, very large increase in productivity, which would be great, but that we don't expect, you wouldn't be able to sustain 4% wage inflation over the longer term. Over the shorter term, though, yes.
So over the shorter term, that would not be a justification in and of itself for raising rates. Is that right, in the short term?
Well, I think wages affect prices and prices affect wages. I think we do think that some softening in labor market conditions will happen as we try to get inflation under control, and will need to happen.
Right, but that's more a prediction about your efforts to fight inflation. Are you saying that simply looking at the current 4% growth rate in the short term is an excuse for jacking up interest rates?
I think what I would say is that the overall, all the data we look at in the labor market, including not just that measure of wages, but others, also unemployment, also participation, also job openings and quits and things like that. All of that, you put that into the picture, and I think you see a labor market that is extremely tight and is probably contributing to inflation. I've never said it was the main cause.
Right. I think the larger point here, based on your response to that first question about growth in profits, is corporations have a decision as to whether or not they're going to pocket more for profit, which they can, or provide higher wages to their employees. And if you actually lowered your profit margins, you could sustain a higher wage increase without violating the 2% inflation. Isn't that right?
Yes. I mean, when I hear profit margins, what we're seeing in the economy is pretty much about shortages and supply chain blockages. And when there's not enough of a product, what happens, and there's a lot of demand, what you see is prices going up. As the supply chains get fixed and shortages are alleviated, you will see inflation coming down. You'll see margins coming down, and that will certainly help with inflation.
Right, but profits are the margin, right? They're going up beyond what they were before. That means that even with the increase of costs because of supply chains, they're making more profits. Which again, that they can do that. But my point is that as a contributor to inflation, as you indicated in response to the first question, let me ask you about the tight labor market because one of the issues in a tight labor market is parents with kids, including a lot of moms who would like to go back into the market, but are not able to do so because of lack of affordable child care. The other issue is immigration, and I know that you've gotten some recent data on how some immigration figures actually have softened a little bit the tightness in the labor market. Can you just talk broadly about those two factors, affordable child care and immigration, more legal immigration, and how they could affect labor force participation and therefore also reduce inflation pressures?
So on the first, we don't make recommendations or evaluate fiscal policy, but I will say there's research that shows that it helps keep women in the workforce when there's child care available, which is, I think, kind of self-evident. The second was
impact of immigration.
Immigration, yeah. So what I talked about with you is actually as part of the January Bureau of Labor Statistics report, which comes the employment report for January, which comes out in early February. There is a section in there about more people. The Census Department has increased its estimate of the workforce by something like 870,000 And a significant part of that has been immigration. So, and that has moved up participation by a little bit, but, and it may be part of why we're hearing, it may be part of why we're hearing from, in the labor market that the really intense labor shortage pressures that we were hearing about in 2021 and 22 may be alleviating. So that would contribute to that. Clearly, more people, clearly the economy is calling for more people with essentially two job openings for every unemployed person, and this can be a source of those people.
Right, and that would reduce the tightness of the labor market and reduce pressures on inflation, right?
May already be doing so.
Thank you.